I'm deeply honored to be allowed to do this on Bill's behalf. I was asked some years ago to write the little bit of the profile's prominence, and I got to know Bill better that way. And people, because Bill is Bill, don't understand how important he has been and continues to be to this organization. He has sent us some remarks. I very much regret that I cannot be with you personally this evening at my old college in the city where I grew up so many years ago. However, I'm very much honored for the leadership award that you're granting to me. It adds so much to my Marshall experience and the years that I've been associated with the Society of Yeager Scholars. The Yeager Society is, of course, about excellence, learning, and scholarship. But the distinguishing element, the ingredient that separates the Yeager Scholar from the traditional honors scholar, is the capacity for leadership. The Yeager Scholar is destined to make a difference in our world over the coming years. What is leadership? Merely being in charge of a group is not leadership. Manager, maybe. Boss, possibly. But leadership requires more. We hear often of our so-called congressional leaders in Washington, but we see them constantly scouring the polls to see where the masses are headed and scurrying to get out in front of the crowd and claim to be a leader. Opportunist, yes. Leader, no. As Winston Churchill once said, a nation will find it very hard to look up to leaders who are keeping their ears to the ground. The true leader is creative, is a communicator, is dedicated, inspires trust, demonstrates an integrity, and is driven to hard work. He or she will make a difference, will make the world a little better, and will be respected by others in society. A leader does not need to be in charge of some group. An individual can be a leader in his or her field. I represented many years ago a New York neurosurgeon who was quite well known for his surgical treatments for Parkinson's disease. He once received for Christmas a gas-operated wine opener. Noticed how cold the gas was, then conceived the idea for a surgical cannula that could transmit liquid nitrogen, and devised a technique for treating Parkinson's tremors with brain injections of the supercooled nitrogen. He was honored by many countries for his innovation in the then newly developing field of cryosurgery. We see creativity and hard work. This is leadership. In neurosurgery, he was a leader. Our education field is in dire need of true leaders. School principals may or may not be leaders, but the individual teacher can become a true leader. If the teacher uses his or her knowledge, experience, and dedication to developing new and innovative teaching techniques, that teacher is employing creativity and expressing leadership. A difference is being made. The educational system is a bit better. Our children are better prepared for the future. Years ago, I led the legal fight in the courts for authority to launch the first private communications satellite by a consortium including IBM and Communications Satellite Corporation against the opposition of AT&T, Sprint, the Federal Trade Commission, Department of Justice, and others. We prevailed, and I was privileged to watch the liftoff of the first commercial payload on a NASA space shuttle. This accomplishment was the result of massive efforts of innovative leaders in their respective fields, all using their learning and creativity and arriving at a result that we all take for granted today. Of course, a leader may well be one who oversees a group or groups of individuals. I have over the years known well and worked with the chief executives of many of our corporations, such as International Nickel, Goldman Sachs, Bank of New York, and other New York and European banks, General Tire and Rubber, J&L Steel, IBM, American Standard, Exxon, NV Phillips, Cleveland Plain Dealer, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and other newspapers around the nation, Amstar Domino Sugar, and others. They had one trait in common. They were smart, worked hard, and inspired. inspired others. In my years of representing the National Football League in courts across the country, I got to know quite well the late Pete Rozelle and his successor, Paul Tagliabue. They were commissioners guiding a group of 32 disparate billionaire owners. They had no ownership in any of the professional franchises, yet they had to lead. How did they achieve that position of leadership? They had integrity, they were creative, fair, dedicated to developing a sport that was good for the owners, the players, and the sports-loving public, and they enjoyed the trust of all. Many years ago, I was sitting around a table with some IBM engineers discussing satellite issues. One of them opened up for me a map of the New York City area with scattered markings for antennas. He noted that car phones were popular, but had a big problem. When you drove outside the range of the antenna, you would lose the radio signal. He said that he and others were working on technology with computers that would link all of the antennas on the map so that the signal would never be lost and the car could receive phone calls wherever it was. This was the genesis of what we now call a cell phone. This was leadership. Again, many years ago, I worked with and represented in litigation a small company that developed a computerized legal research system. Essentially, 3 men led the effort to digitize every reported court decision and every statute in the law of Ohio. Using a computer connected to a telephone line, a lawyer, even a single practitioner who could not afford the expense of buying the hundreds of volumes of Ohio law that he might need, would have access at his desk to the entire law of Ohio. This was long before Google, even long before the internet. They then proceeded to add the law of all the other states, the federal system, and even the laws of foreign countries. The system, called Lexis, was clearly the forerunner of the computerized search systems that we see today. Every lawyer has access to and uses Lexis today. This is another example of leadership in action, creativity, dedication, hard work, and learning. For 40 years, I represented Exxon and its predecessors in litigation, primarily in the international antitrust, government, trademark, and patent fields, as well as the problems resulting from the famous Exxon Valdez. You meet there many people who are leaders in their fields. Why are cars able to go more than 1,000 miles without an oil change, which used to be the rule in the old days? It is because of additives developed to add to gasoline and oils to facilitate the long life period that we see today in our motor oils. Working with the Exxon scientists who contributed to such developments, you see the mark of leadership in the field of chemistry. They saw a problem, they used creativity, dedication, and hard work to find a solution. They are leaders. This tells us what the Yeager Scholarship Program is all about. Marshall is providing the essential learning environment, helping to develop creativity, inspiring the Yeager Scholars to hard work, and introducing them to the skills that will make them leaders for tomorrow. Learning is essential. President Kennedy, in remarks prepared for delivery at the Trade Mart in Dallas on that fateful November 22, 1963, emphasized, leadership and learning are indispensable to one another. He was so very correct. Thank you again for the honor you have bestowed on me. Bill Willis.